In the shadows of the night, where the forest whispers secrets and the blood moon watches from above, destinies collide, hearts tremble, and beasts awaken. This is not just a story, it is a bond written in darkness and light. Step closer. But beware, for once you enter, there is no turning back. Welcome back, wild hearts. If passion under moonlit skies calls to you, join the pack. Hit subscribe so you never miss a single video.
The town of Ravenswood was small, tucked between mountains and forests so dense that even in daylight shadows ruled the undergrowth. Most who lived there clung to old traditions, locking doors at night, whispering prayers when the wind howled, leaving offerings of bread and milk at the forest's edge. Everyone in Ravenswood knew the stories. The wolves in the woods weren't just wolves. Children whispered of glowing eyes that watched from the tree line, of shadows that shifted when no one was near, of paw prints too large, too heavy, too human. Elena had heard them all. Her grandmother told the same tale every year on the night of the blood moon, when the moon rose fat and crimson, staining the world with its eerie light. Stay inside, Elena. Don't wander. Don't listen to the howls. For the wolves don't hunt for food on this night. They hunt for fate. But fate had other plans. On this night, Elena couldn't sit still. She stood at her bedroom window staring at the horizon. The moon was already climbing, its red light washing over the treetops, making them glow like embers. And then, she heard it. A howl. Low, mournful, haunting. It crawled through her veins, set her heart racing, and pulled at her like an invisible tether. She tried to shake it off, but her body wouldn't listen. Before she realized what she was doing, she had pulled on her boots, grabbed her flashlight, and slipped out of her grandmother's house. The streets of Ravenswood were empty, doors shut, curtains drawn, every soul hiding from the night. Only Elena walked toward the edge of the forest, her breath forming clouds in the cold air. The closer she got, the heavier her chest felt, as if the forest itself were breathing in rhythm with her heartbeat. She hesitated at the tree line. Her grandmother's warning echoed in her mind. But something stronger pushed her forward. She stepped into the woods. The world changed instantly. The sounds of the town faded. The air grew damp, filled with the scent of moss and earth. The trees loomed tall and twisted, branches reaching like skeletal fingers. Mist curled along the ground, glowing faintly under the blood moon. Her flashlight flickered in her hand. She slapped it once, twice. Then it died completely. "Great," she whispered. But even without it, the forest wasn't dark. The crimson glow bathed everything in a surreal, dreamlike light. And then she saw them. Eyes. Glowing amber eyes watching her from between the trees. Elena froze, her breath catching in her throat. They weren't ordinary eyes. No animal looked at a human like that. With intelligence, with intensity, with something that felt like recognition. The shape stepped forward. A wolf. Massive. Larger than any she'd ever imagined. Its fur was black as midnight, its body rippling with muscle and power. Elena's legs screamed at her to run. Her instincts begged her to scream, but she couldn't move. Because despite the fear pounding through her, something about the wolf's gaze rooted her to the spot. Not prey, not predator, something else. The wolf tilted its head slightly, watching her with unnerving focus. Her lips parted. "What are you?" The wolf blinked slowly, as though it understood her. But before anything else could happen, another sound split the silence. A growl. From behind her. Elena spun around, just in time to see a second wolf burst from the shadows. This one was leaner, its fur ragged, its eyes wild and hungry. It lunged at her, teeth bared. She screamed, but the black wolf moved faster. It leapt between her and the rogue, slamming into the attacker with bone-crushing force. The ground shook as they clashed, fangs snapping, claws raking, snarls tearing through the air. Elena stumbled back, her heart pounding, unable to process what she was seeing. The fight was brutal, but quick. The black wolf overpowered the rogue with terrifying strength, biting deep into its shoulder. The rogue yelped, then turned and fled, disappearing into the trees with a trail of blood in its wake. Silence returned. Elena's chest heaved, her body shook. She turned and found the black wolf staring at her again. Blood dripped from its muzzle, but its amber eyes glowed softer now, almost protective. She swallowed hard. "You saved me." The wolf took a slow step toward her, and then before her eyes it began to change. Bones shifted, fur dissolved into skin. The monstrous shape twisted and shrank until, standing where the wolf had been, there was now a man. Tall, broad-shouldered. His body was sculpted with strength, his chest bare and heaving. Dark hair clung damp to his forehead, and those same amber eyes, those impossible eyes, burned into hers. Elena staggered back, gasping. You're... The man's jaw tightened. His voice was low, rough, and commanding. "You shouldn't be here." Elena's mind screamed at her to run, but her body betrayed her, frozen in place under the weight of his gaze. The man before her wasn't just dangerous, he was impossible. Her voice cracked. "You were a wolf. I saw you." His expression was stone, unreadable, but his voice carried the weight of command. "You didn't see anything. Forget what happened, forget me, and leave this place." His words struck like cold steel, but instead of fear, Elena felt a spark of defiance ignite in her chest. She lifted her chin, her voice trembling but steady. "Why? Why should I forget the man who just saved my life?" For the briefest moment, his amber eyes flickered, like a storm passing behind them. Longing, pain, hunger. Then it was gone. "You don't understand," he said, his tone lower now, almost pained. "You don't belong here. This world isn't meant for you." Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. She didn't know why, but something in her whispered that he was lying, not about what he was, but about her not belonging. Before she could answer, another howl shattered the night. Closer, louder. His head snapped toward the sound, muscles tensing. He looked back at her one last time, his voice urgent. "Go, now." And then, before she could move, his body twisted again, bones snapping, fur erupting, until the black wolf stood before her. In a blur of motion, he vanished into the shadows, swallowed by the forest edge. Elena stumbled backward, gasping, her heart racing as the silence pressed in once more. By the time Elena made it back to town, her legs felt like lead, her lungs burned. The night air was cold, but sweat slicked her skin. The streets of Ravenswood were still. No one dared step outside. Only one light glowed. The lantern on her grandmother's porch. The old woman was waiting. "Elena," she whispered, voice trembling with fear. "Tell me you didn't." Elena froze in the doorway, her eyes wide, her lips pressed tight. The old woman saw the truth in her silence. "Oh, child," her grandmother murmured, clutching the crucifix around her neck. "The forest has marked you. You went in on the blood moon." Elena swallowed hard, her voice unsteady. "Grandma, I saw something. Someone. He saved me." Her grandmother's eyes filled with dread. "Tell me you didn't see his eyes." Amber eyes flashed in Elena's memory, piercing, glowing, impossible to forget. She didn't answer. Her grandmother gasped, staggering back as though struck. "Moon, help us," she whispered, crossing herself. "You've seen the Alpha." "The Alpha?" Elena echoed, her brows knitting together. Her grandmother's voice dropped to a trembling whisper. "The Blackfang Alpha, the most dangerous creature in these woods. His kind, they're not meant for us. And once their eyes fall upon you..." She trailed off, shaking her head. Elena's skin prickled. "What happens then?" Her grandmother looked at her with pity. "Fate begins to weave its curse. Deep in the heart of the forest, Damien shifted back to human form. his chest rising and falling as he paced along the riverbank. The scent of her clung to him still, warm, intoxicating, searing through his veins like fire. He could hear her heartbeat echoing in his mind, quick and frightened yet stubbornly alive. He clenched his fists. No, this can't be happening. The moon goddess had cursed him. There was no other explanation. A human girl as his mate. It was forbidden. Against every law of the pack, against his duty as alpha. And yet, he couldn't deny the bond. He had felt it the moment their eyes met, the pull, the gravity, the inevitability. His wolf prowled inside him, restless, hungry. It wanted her, to claim her, to mark her, to never let her go. Damien snarled at his reflection in the river, his voice ragged. I won't. I can't. But the bond didn't care. It throbbed inside him like a second heartbeat, whispering her name. Elena. Far from Damien's private torment, the pack gathered in the clearing. Wolves of every size circled restlessly, their golden eyes watching the forest edge. Marcus, Damien's beta, stood waiting. When Damien emerged, still in human form, the wolves stirred uneasily. You were gone too long, Marcus said, his tone edged with suspicion. And the scent you carry? He sniffed the air, narrowing his eyes. Human. Damien's jaw tightened. It was nothing. Nothing? Marcus growled, stepping closer. On the blood moon, there is no nothing. What have you done? The alpha's eyes flashed dangerously. I saved her. That's all. Marcus's lips curled. You risked exposure for a human? Damien's voice dropped to a warning growl. Watch your tone. But Marcus wasn't finished. He leaned in, his voice low. If the pack learns their alpha's heart is weak, they will tear you apart. For a long, tense moment, silence stretched between them. The other wolves shifted nervously, ears twitching. Finally, Damien turned away, his voice clipped. This conversation is over. But Marcus's words lingered like poison in the air. Elena lay awake in bed that night, staring at the ceiling as her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. The alpha. Fate's curse. Once their eyes fall upon you. Her chest ached. She couldn't explain it, this strange pull, this hollow ache that hadn't been there before. She closed her eyes. But instead of sleep, she saw amber eyes glowing in the dark. She felt the warmth of his body as he stood before her. She heard his voice, low and commanding. You shouldn't be here. Her lips trembled as she whispered into the empty room. Then why did you save me? And somewhere, deep in the forest, Damien sat on the cliff's edge, staring out at the blood moon. His chest ached the same way. His wolf howled inside him, restless, unsatisfied. Though miles apart, they both felt it, the beginning of something forbidden, the beginning of something they could not escape, the beginning of desire. Sleep came late for Elena, and when it did, it wasn't peaceful. She dreamed of the forest, of mist curling around her ankles, of shadows moving just out of sight, and always, those eyes. Amber, glowing, fierce, watching her, following her. In her dream, she ran through the woods, but no matter how far she went, the eyes were there. Not hunting, not chasing, just waiting. And then suddenly, warmth. Strong arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. She couldn't see his face, but she felt him. The strength, the power, the heat radiating through her skin. Her body trembled, not with fear, but with something deeper, more dangerous. Desire. She woke with a gasp, her sheets tangled around her, her heart pounding. Sweat dampened her hairline. The moonlight streamed through her window, and she swore she saw a shadow move at the edge of the trees beyond the town. Her lips parted. Him. The next morning, Elena tried to bury herself in normalcy. She walked into town, bought bread from the bakery, waved at the neighbors, forced a smile at the market stalls. But inside, her mind was a storm. She couldn't stop thinking about him. Every sound, every movement in the corner of her eye made her heart leap. Was he there? Was he watching? By midday, she wandered farther than she should have, past the last houses, past the old mill, toward the river that split the town from the forest. She told herself she just wanted to clear her head, but deep down, she knew the truth. She was hoping to see him again, and then she did. Across the river, half hidden among the trees, a figure stood, broad-shouldered, tall, dressed in dark clothes. Even at this distance, she knew it was him. Her breath caught. Their eyes locked across the water. The world seemed to still. The river's murmur faded. The wind hushed. The air itself paused between them. She whispered, though he could never hear her, "It's you." And though he didn't move, she felt it, like an invisible thread tugging between them, pulling them closer even as the river kept them apart. Then, in a blink, he was gone, melted into the trees like a shadow. Elena stood there long after, her chest aching with something she couldn't name. That night, Damien stood before the pack council. The elders gathered in a circle around the fire. Old faces, stern eyes, voices heavy with tradition and law. "The rogues grow bolder," one elder said. "They were sighted near the northern ridge last night." "2 farms report missing livestock," another added. "The humans grow suspicious." Damien stood tall, his voice steady. "I'll handle it. The pack will defend its borders." But Elder Harlan, the oldest of them, narrowed his eyes. "And what of the girl?" The fire crackled. The pack shifted uneasily. Damien's jaw tightened. "She's no threat." "No threat?" Harlan's voice thundered. "A human saw you, Alpha. Saw what you are. That cannot be allowed." Murmurs rippled through the circle. Damien's wolf snarled inside him, protective, furious at the thought of harming her. He forced it down, his voice sharp. "She won't speak of it." Harlan's gaze bored into him. "You sound certain." "I am." Silence stretched, heavy and dangerous. Then Harlan leaned back, his voice low. "Pray your certainty doesn't cost us all." Days passed. Elena tried to ignore the ache that had settled in her chest, but it only grew worse, like a hunger that no food could satisfy, like a thirst no water could quench. And then, one evening, she couldn't take it anymore. She found herself walking again toward the forest, her steps quick, almost frantic. Her heart pounded as she reached the tree line. She whispered into the shadows, "I know you're there." For a long moment, nothing. Only the rustle of leaves, the chirp of crickets. Then, a shape. He emerged from the trees like a phantom, tall and powerful, his amber eyes glowing faintly in the dusk. Elena's breath caught. Her pulse raced. But this time, she didn't run. "You," she whispered. "Why do I feel like this? What are you doing to me?" His expression was unreadable, but his voice was rough, strained, as though holding back something dangerous. "It's not me," he said. "It's the bond." "The bond?" she echoed, his jaw clenched. "We are fated, you and I, but it should not be. It cannot be." Her lips trembled. "Then why do I feel like I've known you forever?" For the first time, his mask cracked. Pain flashed in his eyes. "Longing. Because you were meant for me," he said softly. "And I for you." Her chest tightened, tears pricking her eyes. "Then why fight it?" He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming, his heat wrapping around her like a shroud. He stopped just short of touching her, his voice a whisper. "Because if I claim you, it will destroy us." Before she could answer, a snarl tore through the night. The rogue wolf burst from the undergrowth, its eyes wild, its body scarred, from their last fight. This time it wasn't alone. 2 more rogues followed, circling, growling. Elena gasped, stumbling back. Damien shifted instantly, his body exploding into black fur, his growl shaking the earth. He lunged at the first rogue, his claws tearing into its flank. The clearing erupted in chaos, fangs snapping, snarls echoing, blood spraying. Elena froze, terror rooting her to the spot. The rogues circled, one breaking off toward her. Her scream cut through the air. And in that instant, Damien's fury doubled. His wolf moved like a storm, savage and unstoppable. He ripped through the rogues with terrifying force, his roars shaking the night. When it was over, the rogues lay broken, whimpering before fleeing into the shadows. Damien stood panting, his black fur matted with blood, his amber eyes blazing. And then, he turned to Elena. Her body trembled, her heart hammering, but she didn't step back. She stepped forward. And without thinking, she reached out and touched him. Her hand pressed against his fur, warm and solid under her palm. The bond flared like fire, searing through them both. Elena gasped, her body trembling. Damien froze, a low growl rumbling deep in his chest, not of anger, but of something far more dangerous. Need. He shifted back before her eyes, kneeling in the dirt, his chest heaving, his body slick with sweat and blood. His voice was ragged. You shouldn't have touched me. Her eyes shone with tears, but her voice was steady. I couldn't stop myself. Damien pulled himself to his feet, towering over Elena. His body trembled, not from weakness but from the effort of restraint. Every part of him screamed to claim her, to close the space between them, to sink his teeth into her soft skin and mark her as his. But he couldn't. He wouldn't. Elena. His voice was hoarse, dangerous. You don't understand what you've done. Her chest heaved, her hand still tingling from where she touched him. Then explain it to me. Tell me why I feel like I belong to you. His eyes burned, pained. Because you do. Her breath caught. But, he continued, his tone hardening, this bond is forbidden. A human and an alpha? It cannot happen. If the council knew, if my pack discovered. He cut himself off, his jaw tightening. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but firm. Do you want me? The question hung between them, raw and dangerous. He closed his eyes, his hands clenching into fists. More than you could ever know. Then why fight it? His eyes snapped open, glowing brighter in the moonlight. Because if I give in, I will doom us both. You don't understand the world you've stumbled into. The wolves, the council, the rogues. None of it is safe. You're not safe. Her lips parted. But I feel safe with you. His face twisted, tortured. And that's the most dangerous part. The air grew colder. The night shifted. Elena shivered, suddenly aware of how silent the forest had become. No wind, no insects, just stillness. Damien stiffened, his head snapping toward the trees, his nostrils flared. A growl rumbled low in his chest. What is it? Elena whispered. He stepped in front of her, shielding her with his body. His voice was sharp, commanding. Someone's watching. And then, she saw it. A figure in the distance. Not a rogue, not human. Something else. Its form was barely visible, cloaked in shadow, but its eyes glowed, unnatural, cold, silver. Elena's stomach dropped. Damien growled, his voice low. We need to go, now. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, watching, silent as death. Damien grabbed Elena's wrist, pulling her into the trees. They ran, branches whipping at their faces, the sound of their footsteps swallowed by the mist. But even as they fled, Elena felt it. Those silver eyes boring into her, following. They didn't stop until they reached the edge of town. Elena's chest burned, her legs weak. Damien released her, his body still tense, his gaze locked on the forest behind them. What was that? She gasped. He hesitated. His jaw worked, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. That, he said finally, was not a rogue. That was something worse. She stared at him, fear curling in her stomach. Worse than a wolf? Yes. His eyes softened briefly when he looked at her. And it was watching you. Elena swallowed hard. Why me? Damien's expression was grim. Because you're mine. And now, others will sense it too. The words sent a shiver through her, not of fear, but of something far more complicated. You can't stay here, he continued, his voice sharp. The more you're seen, the more danger you're in. She shook her head, her voice trembling. I can't just leave. My grandmother. I don't care about your grandmother. His voice cracked like thunder, then softened, pain flashing across his face. I care about keeping you alive. Tears stung Elena's eyes. Then what am I supposed to do? He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming, his voice a low growl. Stay away from me. Forget what you saw. Forget me. Her heart broke at his words, but before she could respond, he turned and vanished into the night. Gone as if he'd never been there. Back at her grandmother's house, Elena sat by the window, staring at the forest. Her hands shook, her chest ached, and her mind spun with everything she'd seen. Wolves that were men, rogues that hunted her, eyes in the dark, a bond she couldn't deny. She whispered to herself, her voice breaking. Forget him? How can I forget when he's inside me already? The blood moon hung heavy in the sky, glowing like a wound in the heavens. And Elena knew. This was only the beginning. The night has only whispered its first secret. The real storm begins in the next episode. Stay tuned.